Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another really cool Collecta figure to take a look at. This is actually a Collecta 2020 figure, and we are definitely getting very close. We are nearing the end of the 2020 figures for Collecta, unfortunately, but this is another really cool aquatic species that was released by them this year. This is an Ammonite, and it is a Pleuroceras, and it's a really nice looking figure. Beautiful sculpt overall, and very obscure, as most people don't release species like this. It's something that often gets overlooked, and I'm not really too sure why, because they are really beautiful animals and just something that I guess most companies don't care for. However, Collecta consistently steps in to save the day, and we now have a beautiful model of said species right here before us. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get a closer look at this right now. So, looking at the figure as a whole, you can see a lot going on as far as color variation, and I actually dare say there might be quite a bit more color variation on this one than a lot of the other invertebrates that we've had this year. You can see that as far as the texturing goes, you have a beautiful textured appearance to the animal, and they've really nicely painted it by giving it a beautiful dry brushing. Like, it's a very kind of like a light brown, and then they have like a very realistic application of a dry brushing over top with like a reddish brown, actually kind of like a mixture of a reddish brown and a maybe like a slightly alternate version of brown, like a little bit of a darker brown. But it looks really good and extremely realistic the way they painted this, and I think as far as the actual paint application goes, this might be my favorite of these aquatic species for the 2020 year, just because the actual paintwork on this one just looks a lot more legit, a lot more realistic than some of the others, which the others were all really good too, but this one just, I mean, overall, it just looks gorgeous as far as the paintwork goes, and that really nice way they painted it with the dry brushing has brought all the detail out, again, all over the animal in an extremely realistic way. You can see the eyes are painted right there with a really nice yellow coloration and a black pupil right there. Same deal over here, and on both sides the eyes are pretty nicely placed. If we take a look here at the underside, you can see that as far as these tentacles go, they look really good. Detail-wise, there is a lot going on down here. There's not too much going on the underside paint-wise, but you can see that down here as we get to the center, if it would focus, we do have some nice darker paint down there, as well as a pretty nice sculpt overall. Again, actually getting close here, you can see how nice the very fine detailing of the figure is and what the undersides of like the tentacles look like. Looks really good, especially when you actually get up here. You can see how nice that looks in that vicinity as well, as far as these two go. And you can see that the sculpting here on the top looks really good, and you can see that it also transitions to like a tannish coloration as you head out to the tips. Really nice looking, and actually a similar coloration. It's like a tannish, like a mixture of tan and green, and you can see that same coloration right here. You can see that that as well looks really good as far as the application goes. Very nice and natural, really smooth transitions between the colors as we kind of lead back from that kind of darker green. It gets to a little bit of a lighter green and then transitions to like an off-white, and the way that that paint application is applied is really natural looking, if you ask me. And then as you move back here, you can see that there's a really nice kind of an off-white coloration, and the texturing as well looks incredible. Look at how beautiful that looks when you get it up nice and close. It genuinely looks, I think, about as realistic as it probably gets for this animal. You can also see a nice brown coloration that runs along the top, and that, of course, does follow the entire course of the animal. And you can also see a really nice black striping that as well leads down through the entire body almost. It kind of tapers off right here. You don't see it within that area, but you can see that overall it's a very striking appearance, I think, for the animal, and I really love the paint application of this. Of course, the sculpt is incredible. I mean, it's a Collecta figure. You're really not going to find much other than incredible when it comes to one of their sculpts, but the paint application as well is quite phenomenal on this one, and again, probably my favorite of the aquatic species released from Collecta this year as far as the paint job goes, but the sculpt is also quite phenomenal. As far as a size goes on the figure, you are looking at, for a length, right around the 4-inch range, or about 10 centimeters if we head out to the end of that kind of tentacle right there. And then for a height, you are looking at about the 2.5-inch range, or about 6.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, here are our usual suspects when it comes to review size comparisons, as we have Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Back Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line. And you can see next to this figure again that it sports a pretty small size overall, but it's not super tiny. I think for being, an Ammonite, it's pretty decently sized overall. And with the amount of detail crammed into the figure, I think it overall is extremely impressive, especially when you look at it next to these figures and you see the kind of smaller size. You'll probably have a little bit more of a respect, I think, for the figure overall, but again, it's not super tiny. I speak like it's really, really small. It's actually a pretty decently sized figure, just nothing overly large. So this 2020 Collecta Pleuroceras Ammonite figure is really, really nice. Overall, I'm super happy that Collecta decided for this year to release just like a random amount of really cool aquatic species that they previously haven't released many of, so I was really excited in general to see some get released. In fact, very few companies overall have released them. There's just something about these animals that I don't know, they get skipped over all the time. I don't know if people just have not as much of an interest in them or what, or if it's just something that continuously gets passed over. And thankfully, Collecta is here to, just like I had said earlier in the review, to save the day and provide us with some figures of these species, allowing many collectors the ability to own species like this that they normally would not have the ability to own, something that Collecta is quite good at overall. But again, I think the figure is really beautifully sculpted. Definitely a really nice, very highly detailed sculpt in pretty much every aspect of the figure. And it also might be one of the nicest sculpts out of all of the aquatic species for the 2020 year from Collecta. But on top of having that incredible sculpt with a very highly detailed appearance, they also have a really, really nice paint job. And I think both the paint job and the paint scheme may be my favorite out of any of the aquatic species for this year, just because the paint job, first of all, looks really good. Everything on it, like the actual paint scheme, looks really good, and everything on it looks natural. It really does look like this could 100% be the coloration of this animal. And the actual paint application as well is really, really nice and really natural on the figure. I think all of the transitions between colors is beautifully done, and just generally like the texturing of the figure has been beautifully dry brushed in almost every area, making the entire figure look just really, really lifelike, a little bit more so than a lot of the others, which again is one of the reasons I think I like this paint scheme and this paint job a bit more than the previous releases as far as these aquatic species go. But honestly, the figure as a whole is fantastic and another incredible release from Collecta for the 2020 year. So, if you would like to pick this up, I will include a link in the description to everythingdinosaur.com where you can head on over there right now and purchase this or any of the other 2020 Collecta figures. So make sure you check the description, head on over to Everything Dinosaur through the link included, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe before you do, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.